Mr. Lowe. What are you doing, Mr. Lowe's? Mr. Lowe's. Mr. Lowe's.
Oh, hello. It's been a while since I've been in a video. Where have you been?
Mr. Lowe's.
Well, now that you're here, I'd like to tell you that I've been busy writing another story. This is the first story that I'll be illustrating digitally. Digitally means that I'll be using a computer.
I knew that.
This means I no longer need to use paper or pencils or crayons
We get it, Mr. Lowe's.
or scissors or texters, rulers, crayons, a sharpener.
Yeah, we get it,
Sticky tape?
Mrs. Lowe's.
I don't need to use any of this. Now all I need is a laptop, a Wacom tablet, and sometimes the internet. Now I'm no expert.
Yeah, I know.
But in this video, I'd like to share with you what I've learnt so far and how I've been illustrating digitally. The program that I'm using is called Adobe Photoshop. And instead of using a mouse, I'm using a Wacom tablet. The Wacom tablet allows me to feel as though I'm holding a pencil or a pen or a texter or a crayon or a piece of chalk or a paintbrush.
Mr. Lowe's, we get it.
How cool is this? It's like I'm using a pencil.
Oh, yeah.
The tool that I've been using a lot is the pencil tool, and that's located here. I can use the pencil tool to draw whatever I like. I could draw a circle with a nice wiggly line through it. Another tool I've used is the bucket tool. I use the bucket tool to fill an area whichever colour I wish. To change the colour, I click over here and I can choose any colour along this bar. Once I have chosen a colour, I think I'll choose a nice blue, I can decide how dark, light or bright I would like that colour to be. Another tool I've used is the brush tool. To get the brush tool, I click and hold here until I see a circle. Then I select the brush tool. I've mostly been using the brush tool for shading and lighting. When shading, I use the black colour. And I usually put the shading on one side and the lighting on the opposite side. Shading helps to give my illustration a bit more of a three-dimensional look, like so. I've also been using a few shortcuts, just to be a little quicker. To shrink or enlarge my brush, I can press this button to enlarge, or this button to shrink. I can also zoom in on my illustration by holding down the control and pressing the plus button. Zooming in helps me to be more accurate and more precise when illustrating. Once I have zoomed in, I can also move along my illustration by holding down the spacebar until this little hand appears and then clicking and dragging whichever direction I wish to move. To zoom back out of my illustration, I hold the control button again and then click on the hyphen, which also looks like the subtraction symbol. Another tool I've been using is the eraser tool, and that's located over here. I can also change the size of the eraser tool, depending on how much I would like to erase. If I would like to undo or redo the most recent thing that I've done, I can hold down the control button and then press the letter Z. This will undo and redo back and forth. If I would like to undo further than my last action, I need to hold down the Control and the Alt before pressing the letter Z. This allows me to go back as far as my last 50 actions. When illustrating with Adobe Photoshop, you use layers. Layers, to me, are kind of like clear sheets of plastic. I'll show you what I mean. Here is a blank piece of paper. Let's pretend this is Adobe Photoshop. The first thing I need to do is add a layer. I will call this layer something simple, a brick wall. And on this layer, I will draw a brick wall. Now I'm going to add another layer, and I'll call this layer Cookie Man. There I have my Cookie Man and my brick wall. Whichever layer is on top will cover the layer underneath. For example, if I put the brick wall layer on top of the Cookie Man, it is now covering the Cookie Man. I can also choose to move my layers so that the Cookie Man could be, for example, up here or down here. But I'd like to have him right here. Sometimes I'll get an image from the internet that I can trace. Then I place another layer on top, and I'll give that layer a name. I can call this layer Eggman. To help me see more easily as I trace, sometimes what I'll do is I'll make the image from the internet a little bit lighter, like so. I'll put the image where I like, then I can trace over this image. Once I'm happy and I've finished tracing the image from the internet, I can then remove the image, and what's left will be my tracing. Now I'll show you how I do this using Adobe Photoshop. To add a layer, I click on Layers, then go to New Layer. Now I will name this layer Brick Wall. Brick walls are usually a reddish colour, so I'll pick a nice red colour. There we go. I'll get my pencil and I'll move this out of the way. Make my pencil tool a little smaller, and I'll draw a nice rectangle. Okay, there we go. Now I'll get my paint bucket and fill my rectangle in. Next I'll draw some mortar, which will be a nice light grey colour. Now I need my pencil, and here we go. I might fast forward this so you don't fall asleep. There we go. There's my mortar. Now I'll add a new layer. And I'll call this layer Cookie Man, because I'll be drawing my Cookie Man. Cookies are usually a brown colour, so I'll choose a nice brown here. There we go. My pencil. Move that out of the way, and I'll start drawing my Cookie Man. There we go. Drawing his arms and legs. I'll get the paint bucket and I'll fill him up, and I'll fast forward this as well. There we go. He's all done. Now a new layer, and for this layer, I'll call him Eggman. And for Eggman, I'll use the internet to find an image. Once I have found the image I would like to trace, I'll save that to my computer. Once I've saved it to my computer, I click on File, go down to Place Embedded, then I find where I have saved that image. Ah, there he is. Okay. I can also enlarge or shrink the image, and then I can move it. I'll move him about there. That looks like he's sitting on the wall. Okay, now I press enter and the image will stay. Now I need to add another layer, and I will call this layer Tracing Eggman. Before tracing, I can also change the opacity of the image so that I can see more clearly where I'm tracing. Can make him nice and light. Oh, that's too light. There we go, that looks about right. Okay, now I go back to my tracing layer and I can begin tracing. First I'll zoom right in so I can see, be a little more accurate. Okay, now I'll trace in a black colour. You don't have to trace in black, you can trace in whatever colour you like. And again, I'll fast forward this so that you don't fall asleep. Okay, another thing I like to draw is a setting. Whoops, where did he go? Well, that's because the background layer was on top of the Eggman. Well, I still need to put him above the brick wall. There we go, now I can see his legs again. Now I'll create another new layer called Shading and Lighting. I like to have shading and lighting on its own layer, so that way, if I need to use the eraser and rub out any mistakes, I only rub out the shading and lighting and not my illustration. Okay, I'll get my brush tool. I've got my black, and because the light is coming from the left side of my drawing, that means I need to put my shading on the right side. And if the light is coming from the left side of my illustrations, that means I need to put the lighting on the left, like so. Whenever I draw grass, I sometimes like to draw little tufts of grass. And I do that by using the pencil and either a lighter or darker shade of green. In this case, I've used a darker shade of green. Well, that's about as much as I know so far. Maybe you'd like to try illustrating digitally. It's lots of fun. You may even learn more than me. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time.